Hello, everyone. We are back for the fifth episode of the Expanding Your Brilliance podcast series. And my guest today is so special. I can't wait to brag on her. We had such a cool conversation. She's going to shed light on some new things that people who grew up in the suburbs might not know. And I'm really excited to share about that. So stay tuned for that. But before we get started, I want to remind everybody that I've slowly started to secretly share out that I am hosting an event, the Expanding Your Brilliance Retreat, September 25th, here in Pittsburgh. And I am giving you a special coupon code that expires today at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. So keep in mind, I know Kate is on Central Time, so 11:59 p.m. Eastern. And this experience, if you've ever come to a retreat of mine, it's not just something that you are passively sitting there and taking notes and that kind of thing, or like, it's really active. It's meant to help stretch you out of your comfort zone in the best possible way. And I'm going to hold you and love you and stretch you into your greatness. That's just the easiest way to describe what these retreats are. And so anyway, I'm really excited for this one because I'm going to be helping you to unlock more profit, to expand your brilliance, to increase your influence, income, and impact, and also to refine your focus so that instead of being scattered or not knowing where to focus, we're going to work with your unique soul blueprint and what works for you, your capacity, your schedule, your lifestyle. And by the end of this experience, this one-day experience, you will have a practical action plan to implement into your life and business. So really excited for that. I will leave the link in the comments and in the show notes. So I hope that you can attend. I actually just had some people sign up today and they got that coupon code. So woohoo. So let's get started. I have here Kate Cozart. We've known each other for years, so I want to hear a little bit more about you. Tell our audience.
Of course. So I'm Kate. I am a person that wears a lot of hats. I like to um, kind of say, like, I am very much a multifaceted person because not only do I write books like the one that I contributed to with you, but I'm also a wife and a mom and a pharmacist and a residency program coordinator and just living life. So I'm very, very excited to get to be here and be part of projects like this and talk all about like how we manage to do the things.
Speaking of that, so what drew you to being part of this book specifically? Because I can remember you DMing me and you were like, oh my God, like this is so aligned and I want to do this. So shed light on that for me.
Well, I know what it's like to be a struggling mom, especially when 2020 hit. I had a newborn. I had a baby that was born in January of 2020, and
Yeah.
so I spent a lot of that year feeling like I cannot be a good mom and I cannot be a good pharmacist at the same time. Because either I'm a pharmacist that doesn't want to see patients or I'm a mom that's putting my kid at risk. And so there was just a lot of tension in my soul where I felt like I just couldn't be good enough
Mm.
around all of those spaces that I'm supposed to fill. And so because I know what that feels like, I really um, have done a lot of work to figure out like if you don't have to feel stuck that way. There's a lot of things that we can do to change our thoughts and change our lives just by recognizing what we're feeling and working on that. And so, kind of kicking those imposter thoughts of I'm not good enough to be in this space. And so, because I had put so much work in on that part of myself and figuring out how not to burn out or let myself feel like I wasn't deserving of being in the roles that I had, this book felt very aligned for me because I was like, if other moms are feeling that, I want them to feel seen. I want them to know that they are not in this by themselves. A lot of us have felt exactly what they're feeling.
I feel like that's one of your huge strengths. And I know that you've had your first book was validated, correct?
Mhm.
And that title alone just shows exactly what you said. Your heart is really here to minister to other people, to come alongside them, to have them be seen and heard and witnessed and validated. So I love that about your spirit, and every single guest that I've brought on, I can feel through their energy and I kind of just highlight and reflect back some of the things that I really admire. So that's kind of like we should call it like a mirror moment. Like this is what I'm
I like that.
reflecting back to you. So, yeah, maybe I'll use that. That just came out of nowhere. um so, what would you this is a curious question that came through my mind as you were talking. What would you tell Kate in 2020 now? Like if you could be that validated, seen, witness that version of you, what would you tell her?
That you don't have to be someone different to be enough, that it's okay to not feel like you have it together. That doesn't make you unworthy. I think that I definitely struggled with a sense of like, do I even deserve to be in healthcare and have a clinic and see patients if I struggle with this whole like going around people face to face because of everything that's going on. Um,
Mm,
and so I wish that I had given myself a little more grace to go like, you're a
yeah.
mom, you have postpartum anxiety, and what you're feeling is normal for what's going on in your life.
Oh my
And
God, yeah.
and so like just giving myself a little extra dose of grace in that the things that I felt were not unique to me, but I felt like they were. I felt like I was the only one that was facing that.
Mhm. That's actually the impetus for this book, and I mentioned this at the book signing. I remember so when I first had my daughter, I had postpartum anxiety. I stopped pumping in July, and I just felt so out of control. I was crying for no reason, and I felt like anxious. I was trying everything, like tapping, all the things that I knew to do, and here like it's your hormones rebalancing, and I remember just feeling so out of control of my body and being like, what's going on?" I remember crying in the doctor's office, panicking because I remember the first day I took Lindsay to daycare. I don't think I even told this story, or if I have, it hasn't been in a while. But like, the first day I took her to daycare, she's my first child. She was 7 weeks old, and I left her there. And I left and I was crying, and Eric and I went to breakfast and he was fine. And I was like, oh my God, my baby. And I was like checking the app or whatever. And then we came back to pick her up, and it was hot in the room, and I'm like, "Oh my god, she's hot, she's overheating," and, like, I'm freaking out because she had a long sleeve shirt, and so I remember going into the daycare office, and I'm like, "Something needs to happen." Like, I was freaking out, and it was because, like, it was my protective patterns coming up, and, like, she was fine.
Mhm.
But as a new mom, and especially when your hormones are rebalancing, you're not sleeping, like, all of that combined can make you go crazy. Like, it
Little
really
bit.
can. Plus, like, I so I'm relating to you in the sense of, like, plus you add on a world pandemic, like, wow. I can only imagine what was happening.
Yes.
So,
And I think, because I didn't, have a lot of people that I wanted to tell how much I was feeling,
yeah.
um, because I felt like maybe my feelings weren't valid. It made things really, really hard, and I felt so isolated. And so that is something that, like, I think when you tell that story and when I tell my story, like, that's what helps us give a little, like, dose of hope to people that maybe are feeling that right now and think that, "Oh, it's just me." Like, it's not. Your hormones
Mhm.
are wacky for one, but then
Yeah.
also you're a human being and you're allowed to feel the things you feel and experience those things and accept like, okay, I'm having a lot of feelings around this. How can I work to see like what's reality, what's um something that I can work on to give myself one a little more grace, but also is there something that I'm feeling that maybe I just need to do some work on like how to not freak out about the little things. Um,
Yes.
I know exactly what you're talking about though, like where you're like, oh my gosh, like it feels too warm. Like
Yes. And I said to my doctor, like, I was crying in the doctor's office, and he's like, I said, "Am I overreacting?" And like, "This is what happened." He's like, "Well, does the daycare have good reviews?" I'm like, "Yeah, Priscilla, my assistant, recommended it." And he was like, "Okay, like it's okay." Like I said, "You need to tell me I'm crazy." And he was like, "All right, I'm going to tell you you're overreacting." But it feels so real to your nervous system and to your body because it's like kicking into survival mode. So I think
right.
the reason why we're sharing this it's so in depth is because I think that there's so many moms out there who like you don't have to have it all figured out, and it's okay. The best thing that I've heard people say that helps me is like, this is very normal. It's normal that you're feeling this way. And then it's like, oh, like I can kind of relax. Like my daughter has pinworm right now. And I'm like, okay, this is what we're dealing with.
Mhm.
And, I just have that in my mind now. Like, this is uncomfortable. I'm scared to open this diaper right now, but like, people get sick, germs get in, underneath the eggs, and I'm like, oh my god, all right, here's the medicine. Let's fix this. Like,
Yep.
that's very vulnerable to share, and I'm telling you this because like this is the stuff that happens in parenting and motherhood. Like, it's hard. So
And we need a village that lets
yeah.
us know that we're not in the hard things alone.
Hmm. Well, and you're the example of that. So you have 3 kids. And
Yes.
so I don't know, I'm feeling guided to kind of ask about them. Like, I know each of them, when you had first applied for this book, you were kind of describing each of their personalities, and I love that so much. So they're all C names, right?
Yes.
So what made you
Yes.
decide on C?
Well, so it actually wasn't intentional like that. That's just kinda how it fell. So our oldest is named Cub, because my husband's grandpa played for the Cubs.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
that, is how he got his name. Our middle son, we actually didn't choose a name for him until I was probably 6 or 7 months pregnant. We couldn't agree on anything, and then we went to, the Caverns out in Pelham, Tennessee. Is this venue that they do shows underground in a cave. We went there for, a little anniversary date, to see Blue October and in this cave, and he was like, "Cavern could be a cool name." And, like, we didn't say anything else because we were still fighting about the name, but then a couple weeks later, he was like, "What's his name?" And I was like, "Cavern Harris," and so that's how he got named. Um, and then my daughter's named Crimson because I'm from Tuscaloosa, and I'm a huge Crimson Tide fan, and so I'd kind of always said if I was gonna have a girl, I was gonna name her Crimson, so
Oh, I
it
love it
wasn't
so much. Very
purposeful C
unique.
names, it just worked that way.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Because I know some people do that intentionally because they're like, oh, like next door it's Jake and Joey Jansen, and then it's Jennifer and Jesse. That's so it's like all J's. So they have a J on their house, like on the door. So, um, but yeah, that's really cool. And I know that you have. I'm just kind of thinking of fun facts here that you have a national championship in forestry. So
Yes.
tell us about that.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I grew up on a farm. That was something that it was a big part of my life from, age 5 to 17. Great work ethic instilled in me from that. But I did a lot of 4-H activities. I had animals. Um, and I competed in a lot of different events as well. And so one of the things that I was really into was forestry. And so when I was 5 and too young to even be allowed to compete, I would just go out in the woods with all the older kids that were like prepping for competition. And you would learn things like tree identification and cruising timber and all of those things. And so I started learning a lot. Even from a very, very young age, I knew a lot of like the trees around me and stuff like that. And so when I was 16, I guess, I got the chance to go to nationals. Um, and so we ended up getting our national championship in forestry that year with my team of 4 from Alabama.
So what do you have to what are you doing when you get that championship? Like, what did you have to do to get
So
was it
yeah,
activities or
so basically the events are always like several different pieces and then it's like a cumulative scoring thing. And you compete at the state level to see like which team gets to go on. So you do things like compass and pacing, so like knowing how to like read a compass and like actually pace things out and be able to like estimate distance. Cruising timber, like I said, so like actually like um, being able to say like this is how many logs you're going to get out of that tree. um,
Oh, okay. Because I didn't
yeah.
know what that was. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
I
so
know, it's so
fascinated by
nerdy.
all this. Uh-huh.
And then tree identification, insect and disease identification, so, like, knowing the common, things that, could make a tree sick, basically, and, like, being able to identify, like, "Oh, that's black knot on cherry. That's what's going on with that tree." I know it sounds so nerdy.
No,
But
it's
so
very involved. I think that's really
it's
cool.
super involved. And so you compete at the state level, and then whichever team has the highest score goes on to nationals. And so my little team went to nationals, and we were all in our like 16, 17-year-old old time frame and knocked it out of the park and brought a national championship home to Alabama. I think we were like the seventh one in the span of 15 years or something. It was wild.
So do your kids know that you did that?
They do. They are not as interested as I was, unfortunately. But sometimes I still make them like walk around and be like, let's show you some trees. Maybe one day, but they're only 8, 5, and 3, so they're not quite to the age where I got super competitive about it. So there's still hope.
So how do you I feel like I, if I were your child, I would so look up to you. And we talked about this with your new book that you have coming out that I want to hear about, how it's written kind of geared towards teen girls. And I wish I would have had somebody like a mentor or something at that point in my life because I struggled with an eating disorder from probably well 14 to 18 was anorexic, and then 18 to 25 I had night eating syndrome, and I just felt so lost. I had a lot of anxiety and just really didn't find God until like my spiritual awakening was kind of like 23, I would say, after that. But um like I bet your kids really look up to you. How do you think that they see you? What do they say to you?
Um, I think sometimes they have an idea of like the things that I'm doing, and sometimes they're just clueless. But when there's a book, when there's a new book and they get to like see my name, especially, the older that can read, like that's something that's been really cool. That he's like, "Yep, that's your name on that book." Like he he gets really excited because he knows that like I'm trying to put things out there in the world that will help other people. And
Yeah.
so I do think that he has probably a little more sense of pride. But even my 3-year-old, she has her um, early author copy that has, the little ribbon around it that says, like, "This is
Yes,
not
the
for
proof
resale."
copy.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
she has one of those, from Validated that she keeps in her bedroom, and so sometimes at night, she'll just open it up and start babbling about whatever, but she has the book, and she knows it's my book, and she loves just to hold it in her hands sometimes, and so I'm hoping that as she gets older, she'll understand, like, how much of a labor of love that was, for me to, pour my heart out, because that book was really for a lot of healthcare professionals and trainees that maybe didn't feel like they were good enough. And then especially when this other book hits and it's a lot more faith-based and really is geared more toward teenagers, I'm hoping that they'll see that that is something that, you know, one, I want to put in the world for other teens, but it absolutely is something that they're on my heart as I write because I want them to grow up hearing the things that that book says.
Mm,
And it was a really special project because as I was writing, I was able to convince my husband to co-write with me.
yeah, yeah.
And so, my part was definitely geared more toward the girls, but he helped me tweak some things to make it a little more inclusive to the guys too. But
Uh-huh.
I'm really, really excited about the impact that that could have on teens that are struggling with self-worth.
So tell me about this book. What was it that sparked this idea in you? And tell me more about the name of the book and some of those things.
All right. So it's called Living Different. We serve in a youth ministry, and that's our kind of like title that we use for students is Live Different. And so the title of the book is Living Different. We are the Lighthouses of Hope, is the subtitle. And
Mm,
that really branched from the book that I wrote last year. So some of the kids at youth group found out that I had just published a book, and they, were just curious and they're like, "Well, what's it about?" And I said, "It's really for people who are struggling with feeling like they're good enough." Because I wanted to make it just a simple statement
yes.
to them. And there was one particular student who was in the summer in between 6th and 7th grade at the time that just kind of said, "I need that book." And that hit my heart really hard because I was like, if there's a 6th grader out there that says they need a book that can help them know that they're enough, then maybe I can put that in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of has been the impetus that's been on my heart since last July. So when this launches on July 7th, like that is absolutely kind of that full circle moment of it took about a year to get it into the world, but I had that student in my heart as I was really trying to think about how can I help teenagers feel seen and know that, especially, um, with their identity in Jesus, like they are enough. They are called to be this amazing person, and they're the light to the rest of the world. They don't have to worry if they're good enough before they have the ability to be that light. And so it was something that I really felt like I needed to put out there.
I just really appreciate that so much. Just the openness, the honesty. Tara's also, I don't know, I know Tara's was more inspired by this book. I know that you've written books before, but I think it's neat how Tara's geared more towards, obviously like gut health, for elementary level, but how we're not just writing for adults. We can write to these different age groups and educate and empower and be the light, like you said. So I really am looking forward to this one, to holding it in my hands and to being like, I know this girl, this
Yes.
woman. So, what else do you want to share? Anything else fun coming up for you or?
Um, Anything else fun? Well, uh, this summer is going to be a little bit wild and crazy because we got church camp coming up. Get to go spend a week with no air conditioning and hang out with
Oh,
kids.
wow.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Um, but no, I think that really the only other thing that I would say is just like I I'm so just excited to get to keep sharing all of the things that are on my heart, and whether that's, speaking, like getting to go and talk to people about wellness, or I just did a CE not long ago on compassion, talking about that and psychological safety and imposter phenomenon and
Yes.
all these things that
Yes.
are so, so, so important. Like getting to have those conversations and write books, like that is absolutely something that I am just so overwhelmingly grateful that I get to do, um, because I'm hoping that people out there that are feeling like they need just a little bit of a pick me up and they need to feel seen and they need to feel empowered. um, I hope that we can all be putting that light out there in the world so that hopefully, it hits the right places and people realize that
Expanding your
they are not.
brilliance. Yep.
Exactly. Not they're
Hmm.
not alone. And so they can feel like they've got somebody in their corner, whether they've ever met me or you or not. They see us and see us reflecting something a lot bigger than us.
Right. Exactly. Yep. And you are so clearly a divine channel for so many people. Even within our pharmacy community, there's so many people on LinkedIn that just follow you and really admire the work that you do. So I want to just it's another mirror moment. Reflect that back to you. Yay, we coined that in this like I that just never came through in that way. So I'm gonna write that down before I
Yes,
forget.
I love it.
Mirror moment. Maybe that'll catch on somewhere and go viral. So where can people connect with you? Where can
LinkedIn
they
is
buy your
probably.
book eventually on 777?
Yes. So July 7th, it'll be on Amazon. So Living Different, and Validated's on there as well. So you can look me up by name and see like all the things that I've either contributed to or written by myself are all on Amazon. And then if you just want to connect and chat, LinkedIn is probably where I'm the most active.
Yeah.
Um, I have some of the accounts on other platforms, but I don't necessarily get on there very often. So LinkedIn is your best bet at getting me to actually respond to something one on one.
Uh-huh. I love it. Any final thoughts before we end here? Or anything, any advice or encouragement that you would give to people?
Um, I would just say, if there's something in your heart that you've been kind of holding on to, that you're wondering, do I need to do this? Am I good enough to do this? Jump in. Um, I think that a lot of people just need to hear that it's okay to chase those dreams. Um, one of my favorite authors is John Acuff, and one of the things that I actually have written up on the wall over here says, "You have a gift worth sharing," because that was something that he said once that really resonated and reminded me that there are going to be days where I doubt that I'm the one that knows the most about something, but that does not mean that my gift isn't worth sharing, and that it can't help somebody even if I am not the utmost expert in a field.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
so everybody out there that's, toying with the idea of writing or starting something, you have a gift and it's absolutely worth sharing. There's somebody out there that needs it.
Mm. And I want to just reflect back that that you said if you feel something in your heart, right? Because there's typically like that small whisper. That's how God speaks. It's like that pull from your heart. And there's gonna be fear and there might be competing voices and imposter syndrome. But I feel, and this is something I always say in podcast interviews, like that's what's led me along this path. Is I just keep following that voice. I follow my guidance, and it's always led to either growth, expansion. Maybe there's some challenges along the way, but God is always molding our character and guiding us. And so it's that, you know, that inner pull that I think can really be that GPS that guides us. So, well,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for spending time with us here on this Thursday. We will connect everybody with you in the show notes. And our next podcast is tomorrow. So we have Jackie Boyle and Erin Thompson. So excited for that. All right, everybody.
All
See you
right.
tomorrow. Thanks, Kate.
Thanks.